Eleviv with pets and the use of the, you know, the Juni products with pets and so forth, if you have a couple of things in your arsenal there that you can tell us real quick, why don't you pick a couple of stories there and say something about that, because I don't want this just to be a mangosteen juice call,
Sure.
because we have other things that can be affected too.
Oh, absolutely. The pericarp oil probably has to be, it's a toss-up really, between the pericarp oil and the Eleviv. I don't know which I get more excited about after I get excited about the juice with animals, because as we know in people, the Eleviv targets, you know, tired, stressed, and depressed people. But we've seen it work with things like seizures. Well, they have, I have a testimonial with a dog and cats with seizures. They gave them the Eleviv wrapped up in a piece of cheese. The seizures went away.
Oh my.
Dogs with separation anxiety, and people that have dogs know that separation anxiety is a really big issue for dogs. And they wrap just one capsule of the Eleviv up in a piece of cheese. You cannot empty the capsule because the contents are so bitter that you can't disguise the taste. So you have to keep it in the capsule. And the dog was calm. It wasn't acting, you know, panic-stricken like dogs with anxiety do. So that was incredible. But then the pericarp oil, you see things like rashes and mast cell tumors that have actually protruded through the skin at some point. You rub it on that, and it pushes it down and eliminates that the inflammation. Flea bites, you can tie it to the pericarp oil to that. Relieves the itching, relieves the inflammation. Ear infections in dogs, big thing with pericarp oil. A couple of drops in the ear. The inflammation goes down within a couple of hours, and the infections are less and less. So dogs that are prone to ear infections get less and less. And when they do get one, they're not as severe, and you can just use the pericarp oil again and reduce the inflammation.
My gosh. You know, let's get into the cost just a little bit, because over the years, and especially as I've gone through the book and I've talked with you, and as we've prepared to do a CD on this, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute, I'm starting to find more and more about the costs that people pay on their pets and horses and different things like that. And my gosh, to some, you know, people can go in and spend hundreds for an ear infection, and all of a sudden they can spend a few dollars for, you know, with the mangosteen to help or the pericarp oil to help that ear infection. And what a savings they can have in their life if they understand how to use this. I want you to comment on that, because I know you're really, really familiar with the cost of all the different medications and drugs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were to go in and get Rimadyl from the doctor, I mean, you can spend upwards of $30 to $80 for just a couple of treatments of the Rimadyl. And Rimadyl is used to treat chronic, I want to make sure I get this right, chronic arthritis in some dogs. And Rimadyl also taxes the liver. So if they have elevated liver enzymes, you can't even give them Rimadyl. That's why my daughter ended up giving her dog the juice, and it made it a whole new dog, just running and playing like it was a puppy again. The pericarp oil, well, we all know the pericarp oil is $75, and it lasts for a long, long time. I mean, the last one I had lasted me 6 months.
Wow.
It did, because I'd only use a teeny bit at a time. So the cost effectiveness of the juice, because the juice lasts an animal quite a long time. The pericarp oil will last a good amount of time. And of course, you know, like for instance, horses, there's a lot of joint supplements that they give them. There's anti-inflammatories they give them, and they can run anywhere from $80 to $140, $150 for injections. So if you give them the juice, you can even rub the pericarp oil on them. It just reduces the inflammation, and it's so much more cost effective. The Juni products, I wanted to touch really quickly on the Juni products. Because they're so safe and because they're non-toxic, you can give your dog a bath in the Juni shampoo and you can use the Juni conditioner, because I do it all the time for both of my dogs. And their fur is soft. They don't flake. They don't scratch and itch like they would if they went to a groomer and, you know, get all that perfume stuff all over them. And I know it's safe, so I don't worry at all when I give them a bath in that. In fact, I'm prospecting my new groomer as we speak.
The other thing about the Juni products and so forth that I think a lot of people don't think about sometimes, and we talked about this, is the contact the pets have, especially household and yard pets have, with other chemicals. I mean, they like to wallow in the grass. Well, the grass has bugs all over. It's got pesticides. It's got sprays. It's got you know, it's got all sorts of infectious type things in the outside grass. And sometimes we don't think about that, how the pets just laying in that type of thing can be so affected by just the yard. And so if we'll you know, treat the Juni products right there and bathe them properly, they get all that yard stuff out of them that is so effective. And sometimes we don't think of that, how much they're affected by just being outside, you know.
Well, we wouldn't let our children roll around in the grass after we had it treated with pesticides and chemicals, so why would we let our animals do it? You know, they can't tell us, please don't put that on us, please don't feed us that. So it's up to us to take the initiative and be their guardians.
Hey, let me ask you a question in kind of a little different direction. Let's change directions here a little bit now, and that's get into the business side of things. How much would you say your business, being so much into pets, animals, and things like that, how much would you say your business is affected by your pet experiences? Do you use the business to help build through pet experiences? Do you suggest that with people that have pets? I think a lot of people might not think of that, but if you know the possibility of knowing people with pets and saying something to them, do you use that in your business?
Yeah, I do actually. I sometimes, well, my existing customers that I've had for a couple of years I targeted them initially for their own health. And then I found out a lot of them had animals, so when I put the book together, I showed them the book, and they were like, wow, I didn't know I could give this to my animals. So now those existing customers are using it for not only themselves but their animals. And now I have a backdoor approach that I use. If I want to prospect somebody that I think just might not be as open-minded as I like, but I know they have animals, then I don't even talk to them about the product for themselves just yet. I simply say to them, you know, as a pet owner, certainly you would want somebody to share something that they found that works so that's useful for their pet's health like I do. So would you mind if I shared something with you? If it has anything to do with their animals, they're very open-minded. So that's kind of the backdoor approach that I like to use, because then if I can get them on the product for their animals and they see immediate results, then they're much more inclined to taking a look at it for themselves, for their own health. So it's kind of a unique way to build a business, approaching them just from the pet aspect. And then you just kind of give them some more materials about, hey, well, you know, it did start out for people 8 years ago, so you might want to take a look at it. Do you have any health issues? And then they're much more open to it because they've already seen it work for their dog or their cat or their horse. Where we all, you know, we know that people will spend thousands of dollars on their animals before they'll spend it on their own health. But if you fix their animal's health, then they'll take a look at it. So
I had something that happened over in Alpine. Although I haven't been using this idea very heavily for prospecting, but from now on I think I will when I notice animals and know that people have animals. It's such a wonderful direction to go. That I had something happen up in Alpine, Utah here, when I suggested somebody use it. And what's nice about the animals is if it makes them better or if they feel better or something, that's with animals it's not psychosomatic. You know, with us we can we can say we feel better and we might not. It might be in our head, or maybe at times people even make things up, or or things like that. And but with animals, it's going to work or it doesn't work. There's no pretending there. And so when somebody in Alpine that I suggested try it, and they had immediate results with their animal, it just completely turned them on to Zango and turned them on to the mangosteen juice, because they had such a positive immediate experience, and they knew that. They said, man, animals don't make this stuff up, and so they were just immediately affected. It really helped out. So
yeah, there's no placebo effect with animals. So
okay, let me ask you this, Paula. I know David says that you've been using our videos. I hope you're not going to ask me to do a pet video. That might not be a bad idea. But how are you using the videos that we have, and maybe go into a little bit of your approach by using the videos?
Well, obviously I don't use them as much for the animals, but what I like to do the Juni ones actually for the animals. If people see the toxic nightmare, then they see all the chemicals that are in those products. Then after they watch that video, I say to them, well, now you've seen all the products that you use and all the chemicals that you use. Do you realize that when you send your animals to the groomer, or you're buying something at the 5 and dime store to bathe your animal in, do you think that they're getting the same chemicals on their skin? And of course they have to say yes, because it's the truth. And I say to them, well, then wouldn't you rather purchase the Juni products for both you, and you can use them for both you and the animals. It's not like you have to buy two separate things. And they've actually stood there and looked and went, I never thought of it that way. Well, you should think of it that way, because no matter what you put on your skin, their skin is equally sensitive, and it goes right into their organs. And, it just baffles me that people, I spoke to a lady today. I was out in a store, and I actually said to her, do you have any soy candles? And she said, you're about the 7th person that's asking for those. Why do people keep asking for those things? And I said, because if you knew what was in a regular candle when you burn it, it's waste oil, and God only knows what else is in it. You're inhaling those things. And she goes, wow, you're just a wealth of information. I said, oh, I haven't even begun. And I just started to talk to her about the Zango product. And she said, do you have a card on the website I could go take a look at? I said, yes, I do, and sent her to the Toxic Nightmare for the Juni product. So that's how I use license. It could be for when I'm approaching the pet people. The Toxic Nightmare is the perfect one, because then they can associate the chemicals they use on their bodies or the same chemicals they're putting on their animals.
Exactly. It fits in because it's going to do exactly the same thing to animals that it does for us. All those toxins, all those petrochemicals and phthalates, preservatives, parabens, and PEGs and everything. I mean, all that stuff that affects the liver and different organs and stomach and is carcinogenic, and all that stuff on humans. Of course, it's going to do exactly the same thing with animals, and they'll experience the same improvements. Hey, I want to talk just a little bit about your book. I want people on the phone. Probably most of them aren't that aware of it, and I want them to be aware of it, because this is a marvelous, marvelous thing. This mangosteen pet experiences. When I first saw that a few months ago, I was simply blown away by the amount of testimonials in there, the number of animals that were in there. I mean, we're not talking just dogs and cats. We're talking about even pets and non-pets. I mean, we're just talking about so many animal experience and so forth. We're talking about different product usages with different animals. Everything from, just pasture horses to race horses. And I mean, I'm just blown away with I shouldn't use the word complexity because it's simple, but wonderful, wonderful, wonderful testimonials and so forth. I can't